Alright, yo, what's up, man? It's your boy Hip Hop Gamer. Yeah, I'm right here, son. But anyway, this is my man David Sears. If you don't know, who he is or his background, I could go on and tell you about the Socom series and all the fans of that series. But I think David could actually, tell you guys better. So, David, I'm gonna pass it on over to you. Speak to the fans and kind of let them know who you are, your background, and where you're going. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Well, I've been making video games professionally for about 23 years. I've been doing stuff like RC racing games, even a crazy extreme kayaking game for N64. Stuff's won awards. It's made money. I always knew this is what I wanted to do since I started playing games as a kid. But I think I'm most famous, most recently, for being the creative director for Rainbow Six Patriots.
Whoa! You said Rainbow Six Patriots?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Whew. All right. Cool. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was the creative director on that for just about 2.5 years.
Oh wow.
Obviously, I'm not with that company anymore. I'm at Soft Studios. So, I'm making a kind of game that was popularized in the early days of PlayStation 2. A game called Socom. I was the creative director and a principal designer on Socom 1, Socom 2, creative some of the PSP games that we did. And then, I kind of did something else for a while. But but that's for another day. I've been making games for a long time. I made all kinds of crazy stuff. Made some popular stuff, made some critically acclaimed stuff. But I'm really fortunate to be, still doing the stuff I love to do, making games.
Now I love the fact that you love making games because you love making me happy. Obviously, I'm a hardcore gamer. I got my PS Vita, the Wii 360. I got everything in the background. I live for these moments. You know what I'm saying? So it's an honor, that you being here and giving me your time. It means a lot. So
none at all. My pleasure.
So the next thing I want to talk about is the vision that you have in terms of the game that you're making, H-Hour. Mm-hmm. Now, what I want to know is, how did you come up with the name, and what was the first thing you wanted to do to showcase like your skill set as a game developer to kind of like separate yourself from what you was known for with the Socom and take it to the next level with the future of games?
Sure. Well, H-Hour is a title that was sort of upvoted and suggested by the retired Special Forces community. H-Hour is a term that was originally used to describe the moment that the Allied forces were going to launch the attack on Normandy in World War II.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, ever since then, that worked out really well.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And it's a popular term now in military circles. It means basically the go hour, or the time any kind of mission starts. And World's Elite, obviously, it's about the best special forces groups around the world. The United States Special Forces groups first, but we have friends in different groups around the world, and we'll be showcasing them too. So for H-Hour, what I wanted to do that would be different, and the way I usually explain this is, everything old is new again. Not a hardcore, because a lot of people like to say Socom was hardcore. It wasn't. What it was a game intended for mass market, and it found a mass market. I mean, sold millions of units. But we made that game to give gamers the tools they needed to become better players over time. Every time you played Socom, you felt like you were getting better. Or if you're getting worse, people would tell you you're worse.
Yeah, they'll let you know you suck.
And you need to do this to get better, and then you get better. It's harder now in a lot of contemporary or modern shooters to really feel like you're putting your skills to the test. There are very obvious patterns. There are lots of things that seem random that take a lot of skill out of the experience, like drones, carpet bombing, stuff like that. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is get right back to a really sort of lean, muscular, very tautly controlled, very tight controls, responsive characters, clear-cut game modes with objectives, and bring back that addictive balance of a bit of run and gun, but mostly tactical gameplay that the first two Socoms were really strong on, and in order to be successful with that kind of game, you have to play as a team. You have to coordinate using the headset. You have to know where your buddy is. You have to watch his back. You have to have a plan because you're going to meet teams that have a plan all the time, and they've been practicing. So if you want to be super successful and move up the ladders, you're going to have to, treat it somewhat seriously. So that's the everything old is new again part.
I like that.
A lot of people have moved away, and to take nothing away from all those products, they're super successful, good games. I play most of them and enjoy them. But the early Socoms were my kind of thing. That was, like 8 years ago. I think I left 7 years ago. I stopped working on that franchise. Now I'm kind of old. So these aren't, they're not as agile as they used to be.
Yeah.
So I just want to say for people who are thinking, gosh, I'm not good enough to compete. On one hand, this is the kind of game where if you want to be competitive, absolutely, we're going to give you a ton of parameters you can tune. So if you want to make a game with respawn, just smoke grenades and pistols, you can do that too, and you can just basically have fun. If you want to be more competitive, we've got ladders for you to compete on and a more hard rule set. But that doesn't really help me because like I said, atrophied thumbs. So we're actually building something called the Analytics Sergeant, which is monitoring the way you play.
Oh wow, that's crazy. All right,
yeah,
cool.
not just the bare bones statistics like boot to kill ratio, number of rounds fired, who shot you when, but it's using modern analytics technology that's being used to train military men and women in the real world, right?
What?
It observes their behavior, extracts the data, parses all that down, and then shows you where you went right or where you went wrong. And what we're doing is applying that for the first time ever to a video game.
Oh my God, that's
pieces.
crazy.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. I look at it and I'm like, it's magic. But I can design to it. It's like having an analytics API that I can design to. And our company president is also former Special Forces. So he's sort of the mind and the voice of the Analytics Sergeant, which is one of the big missing pieces. If a game company sets out to do something like this, you need 3 pieces. You need a game designer that more or less understands it. That's me.
Definitely.
You need an expert in the field, and Tom is he's a very sought after military trainer. He's very, very good. He's training me, and if you can train me to handle firearms safely, I think a good candidate for the sergeant. And then finally, you need people who have actually developed analytics in the real world. So for somebody like me, who's not the best player coming into it, pretty good game designer, but not the best game player anymore, I've got the analytics sergeant to lean on. He's going to tell me, you know what, you survived. You got 1 kill, but 2 of your teammates died because you should have been watching their flank, and you were just trying to run across the terrain. Or the reason you were headshotted was you were 22% exposed in cover, even though you thought you had covered all your bases. You were actually exposed from this guy. So stuff like that, very, very precise, if you want it, will be made available to you. So that's going to help a lot of people who are, maybe afraid of military shooters online. It doesn't have to be as brutal as you might have experienced. When I play online, I'm like, I lived 10 seconds this round. That's fantastic. And that's not going to be this kind of game.
To me, I feel with this analytic, I feel that it gives a lot of information, like on-site real-time information, and I think that's what a lot of people kind of get upset at. They feel like you can't just go to a strategy guide and learn a game like you used to back in the day, because games is different and you playing with people more so than a computer nowadays. So you need some sort of like real-time data on behavioral patterns to kind of really learn the game and how people react. So I feel this right here is absolutely revolutionary, and the fact that you guys are the first game to have this, it gives you, it puts you in a position to be a trendsetter for the industry overall. Once this get put in place and we actually get to see it in all its glory. Now, first off, I want to say congratulations. You know what I'm saying? Round of applause, man. Got 200,000+. So congratulations. I know that feels great for you. And the next thing I want to say is I noticed that it says PC and PS4. Now, I know you get this question all the time, but I'm hip hop gamer for a reason. So I'm going to give you a different spin on this particular question. Now, PC and PS4 only. What I want to say is now that Xbox wisened up and got rid of their DRM issues, right? From what you're exactly. Thank you for that expression. Thank you for real, because that shit was stupid. That shit was stupid, man. Really? Yeah, really. I'm like, and this is coming from a person that's making games. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like ridiculous. But I'm glad they came to their senses, and you know, the gamers, you know, we got what we want. Now, on that note, a lot of what you said and what I seen in the trailer that you created, which was amazing, and shout out to David Jaffe because he really loved it too. So he showed you a lot of love on that. And I'm gonna tell you, I think this game, especially with the new upgrades they made to the Kinect, I think this game would be great on the Xbox One. The fact that the DRM is gone and it's easier to get into the system, I think it'll be more welcoming. And I know both systems got great cloud technology and new futuristic things they're doing with the box. When you have your game on more platforms, then more people get a chance to access it. And from what you told me, I would love for this game to not only be successful, but to be a full franchise as well. Is there a possibility that this game will come to Xbox One? Or did you decide to keep it PC, PS4 exclusively for a reason? What's the answer to that?
Well, I have to, the funny thing about being independent is you have to think about the business side as much as the creative side.
Yeah.
So, our initial plan was to sort of, test out the community and see if people from the PS2 days, the guys that made Socom such a success, really wanted this for PS4. So we started the PlayStation Warrior tier, and we said if just 500 people back at this tier, we'll guarantee we'll get the rest of the funding to make a PS4 version. And response overwhelming. It's really clear the fans have spoken. So absolutely doing PS4 version, doing PC version because that's native hardware for the engine. All the tools are there, and it doesn't make business sense to not give PC gamers the same kind of Socom style experience that PlayStation owners loved. So it's going to be something different for PC gamers too. As far as the Xbox One goes, I've had about 7 requests from all the thousands of people who have either sent email or made inquiries on Kickstarter for an Xbox One version. I don't really know what that means.
Wow.
I don't know if it's, people are just afraid of PlayStation gamers because maybe they're, more fierce, maybe.
Ooh,
I don't know.
I like this. This is a great conversation.
Yeah, man. No, and that's not true. Great games on both platforms are going to come for sure. We're not adverse to making an Xbox One version by any means. We don't know. Our first desire is to remain completely independent, find a good venture capital partner who is going to back us so we can self-publish, and then you sort of, you chart your own destiny that way. If we work with publishers, sure, they would probably want a physical disc as well. But, it's our intention to keep manufacturing and distribution costs at almost zero by being strictly digital download. But if a publisher wants to do things like, wants an Xbox One version, or they want to make real packages you can buy at Best Buy or wherever, that's okay. We just need to be in a good position financially, have most of the game done, so that we can retain control of our IP, and basically still control our destiny. The last thing we want is to be in a position where we can't honor the wishes of our very active and vocal community, which it seems to be mostly PC gamers and a whole lot of Sony fans.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And to me, I'm big on competition. So I feel that Microsoft is going to eventually jump on the bandwagon of Sony in terms of the whole self-publishing thing, the way they're doing it. Because I feel that I mean, the day one when PlayStation 4 comes out, there's gonna be a lot of great games, just as well as Xbox One. But you got Warframe, you got like a lot of these free to play games simply because of the self publishing ability on the PlayStation, making welcome in the indies. So I think that's gonna play a huge role in who wins this generation in terms of that one element, because the indies are the future. So I really feel that. Now the next thing I want to bring up is, you guys actually, was the only company to pioneer life with the PlayStation 2 in terms of a network. You know what I'm saying? Because we all know that didn't really exist at all. But when you guys came around, you guys created something to give life to a dying network of a PS2, because they didn't have it. You had to buy the add-on, put it to the back of the system. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then when Xbox came out, they had Xbox Live and they had everything universal and streamlined. It obviously propelled. So with what PS4 has shown you guys already in terms of their social features and their online value and what their message is for the PlayStation 4 and how that works online, because I'm really excited about what Sony is doing online. Like, I'm actually not really surprised, but like the whole share button and everything on the control, like the ease of use of it. I was damn near crying, man, in my seat. Like, I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. So to know that you're gonna have access to all these features, and considering your mindset back in the PS2 days with the network, what are some of the things that we can expect from H-Hour, knowing what PS4 has to offer from an online standpoint? Yo, David, you that dude, man. I can't wait to meet up with you, man. Word up, it's gonna be great.
Well, one of the first things we have to do is figure out how to protect ourselves from some of these online features.
Okay. All right.
I think it's fantastic. They've basically blown the lid off online gaming, and that's great. But instant chat, that's a problem. I mean, if you're playing a tactical military shooter, you do not want people using that as an exploit, and giving you intel as a spectator, or using a dev cam and that kind of stuff. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't filled out the developer paperwork yet because I've been so busy with the Kickstarter craziness. So I've got to find out, I've got to read all the specs and see how we can deal with that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I think what this is going to do is it's going to make our job a lot easier, right? The beautiful thing about, and it happened, we're just like, I don't know how, we just made this game, and we gave you a few tools to be social, like text chat with a USB keyboard and, voice chat with a pack-in headset.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. In those days, mostly we weren't thinking about a social aspect. We were thinking, okay, this is good for tactical communication. What Sony's done, or what they're doing, is they're saying you really should be able to meet people and become friends and game together with as few barriers as possible. And the game that we're making is certainly going to bring people together. Socom inspired clans that have been, active for 10 years, lifelong friends. People got married, apparently. And I think that's awesome. I think we're going to see a lot more of that now. I think it's just smart. The whole share feature, crazy. I'm like, well, it's about time.
I say the same thing.
It's not like you wouldn't. You're talking about sharing the, hey, you can play my game.
Yeah, everything that they showed, I was just mind blown. I never even thought to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I love about what their online feature is, because they did things that people never even thought about. And when gamers experience something for years, they come up with new ideas that they want to experience, and these are things that a lot of people didn't even think about. So to me, it lets me know that Sony is on another level and kind of going back to their roots of what made them successful in the first place. So that's something that I really appreciate. Now,
can I just follow up?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Their chief architect on the PlayStation 4.
Mark Cerny.
And I think Mark Cerny, has been a visionary for a really long time. I mean, he used to make just fantastic games, like Marble Madness, right?
A friend of mine was talking about that like 2 days ago, and I was like, I know the dude that did that, right? You know what I'm saying? It's good to know. So
And
that's crazy.
he has in his very straightforward way has transformed the way we approach making games in a lot of ways, like the whole concept of the vertical slice, or the Cerny method or whatever. And now I think, not to take anything away from his engineering and design team that I'm sure we're helping him, but he's given us tools that are so, they're, like you were saying, they are so fresh. We don't even know how we're going to use them yet.
Wow.
And, as a game designer and director, when Sony said, hey, we've got this broadband adapter, and you need to use it, or here is a speech recognition library and a headset, so use it. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to figure it out, but right now it's still super fresh. And I completely missed E3 because of the whole Kickstarter thing.
Yeah, I really wish you could have came to E3, man. Oh my God, D, it was crazy. It was really crazy.
So anyway, thanks Mark, and thanks Sony, because they were making it a great time to be a game developer.
Yeah, seriously, I'm loving it. I love what I'm seeing now. The next question, this question is going to be very interesting. Very interesting. So, as a game designer, right, I know you look at other games. I know you learn from other people. You know what I'm saying? So, who is some of your biggest influencers, in the game industry in terms of other game designers that you know or maybe have looked up to? And what games have you looked at that gave you some sort of ideas or influence to what you're doing with H Hour?
Oh, okay. Well, for H Hour, some of the same games that inspired me for Socom. And when we were working on that game originally, the first two, there weren't many analogs, right? There were just a couple. SWAT 3 on PC.
Wow, SWAT 3, wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, great game, except none of the AI dudes could actually throw a grenade into a room. They could only throw them on the door frame, and then the flashbang would roll back out in your face. That was great. Otherwise good. Friend of mine was a producer on that.
Okay.
So, Cyrus, well done. Anyway, it was very influential. And of course, Rainbow Six, right? Tactical,
love that.
Both of those games. It's all about controlling your team and having a plan. So, and Counter-Strike, right?
Counter-Strike, that's a legendary game. Legendary.
Yeah, absolutely. And those games are still primary influences. You've got to look at all their iterations over time. But what was great then is at its heart great now. Games, I think, have become a lot easier. In this rush to make, let's sell, 20 million units.
Yeah.
Soft Studios is happy, selling, a few million units, because that's going to give us a huge user base of quality people who want this kind of game. It's self-filtering, which I think is awesome. And following this line of thinking, if you go all the way back to the 8-bit days and 4-bit days, technically, a lot of the mechanics and interface design was pioneered then by people like Dan Bunton, who made Mule, and Paul Ritchie, who made Archon, among other things. Murder on the Zindernoof, It was an era where you could make a game with just a couple people, and if it was designed well, the fact that the graphics were really limited didn't matter. They're still really great games. The mechanics hold up. So I go back to them. And those guys, Dan E. Button is not with us anymore, unfortunately, but, Paul is out there. I mean, he's doing, crazy stuff with those, maquette things. I don't know I forget the name of the game, but it's you have to have a thing and a game, and, it's going crazy. And, Paul didn't forget the lessons that he taught me, playing Star Control and Archon and all those great 8-bit games. So, guys like that. And then people who just know how to make entertainment, like Tim Schafer.
Tim Schafer, that's my dude. Word.
Yeah, funny. Games do not have to be totally serious. right?
That's why I love Deadpool right now. I'm going crazy over Deadpool game right
Deadpool.
now. Love that joint. Love that.
I haven't gotten to it, but it's one of my favorite comic books.
Yeah.
You know, it's just constant hysteria. I love it.
Yeah,
so those are just some of the guys and some of the games. But, you know, and we're inspired by the big two, right? For visuals.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Sony and Microsoft is bringing it, definitely. Like,
well, Call of Duty, you know, Modern Warfare, Battlefield, gorgeous games.
Yeah.
You know, I usually say, H-Hour looks like Call of Duty, but it plays like Socom. You know, I mean, that's really, you know, that's where it's at for us.
All right, that's correct. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you that I think is very important, simply because you actually got like a special forces on your actual development team to really give you guys the authenticity. So now, there's been a ton of game modes and a ton of games that we are used to, whether it's capture the flag, you know, free for all, team deathmatch, so on and so forth, right? But we're always looking for something new. So my thing is, there's a lot of people that there's a lot of friends that I got that's in the army, been in real war, and there's the things that they tell me and explain to me. They don't tell me everything because it's too emotional for them, but some things that they do tell me, I'll be like, wow, it'd be dope if they did that for a game. So what about, like, is there any certain modes or a mode in H-Hour that you guys is working with or planning that we've like never seen before that actually relates to real war that people don't attack? Because to me, I feel like there's so much more to offer from what we know and what we see in real war that we don't see in the game in terms of a mode. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, I feel like the industry is so hung up on capture the flag and team deathmatch and the traditional modes that we're used to. There's more than that shit that happened in the war. Like, there's way more things happening in war than that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I know it's got to be something else that we're missing, and I really want you guys to bring that, because I think that's going to separate you in a big way. So is there anything about real war, even when it comes to combat? Like, perfect example, in Battlefield and Call of Duty, those are the big two, right? But there's no fighting mechanic. And I'm pretty sure, and I don't mean that bullshit, stab you in the neck real quick or whatever. I'm talking about, like, I want to see a real fight at times, because there's times where you may run out of ammo and the person that you're going up against may try to reload and you may need to fight them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like really a fist fight. Like, I would love to see those type of dynamics in war games. So, you know, think about it. You are trained for full combat, but it's never fully used in games. Why is that? So, like, have you guys even thought about that or talked about adding those dynamics to really give more to the gamer?
Yeah, well, you know, it's great to be inspired by that stuff, but there's a reason a lot of games look like this, you know, for you're trying to stab and punch people when you're on
it's crazy.
And it really comes down to two main points, right? It's hard enough to get a responsive shooter, mechanics and controls and character animations done right. And then to properly sync all that stuff across multiple consoles or PCs, even when you have centralized servers. The internet, it's not perfect yet, obviously. Maybe Internet 2.0, it'll become possible. Broadband does not mean, you know, no latency or lag. So you get this just horrible performance when you're trying to parent two characters together. It tends to look poor, you know? So that's one big issue. Plus, there's the production cost. I mean, that's a whole other subset of game. I mean, you're basically asking for something that fight games do really well, and they have their own set of challenges to make that stuff look good. Even if you're looking at it from the side, you know, like Street Fighter or Tekken or whatever. You know, so and to sync that up with shooting gameplay and track all those bullets and destruction events and, you know,
it's a lot.
I mean, it's like you run out of room in the packets, and then pretty soon the server is just like, I don't know what's going on. So let's teleport that guy over there and not register any of those hits from this guy, and you get caught in the explosion, but you're standing next to him and you don't. So, you know, we're not going to do, we're not going to commit to that kind of stuff early, because we have our hands full just recreating that core boots on the ground experience.
Understand.
So, but I love all that stuff, and it's a huge discussion in our community right now. Knife, no knife, rifle butt. The reason we did rifle butt in SOCOM was it's totally lethal. When
Yeah.
it was a real
Oh hell
war
yeah,
thing,
you break your
right?
nose, bro. Yeah, hell yeah.
It's like you want to send bone fragments into the brain. You do not want that guy getting up again. So we made it lethal, and it also, it's a broad attack, so it looks good from a wide angle.
Yeah.
Or reasonable.
Yeah,
plausible.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, plausible. Yeah, yeah. That's
It's just
that just be all crazy, man.
I know, and it's just goofy. You're like, oh, it's a game, it can look goofy, but no. I think rifle butt probably.
Yeah, that'd be better. Okay.
Yeah. So, but the other part of your question, which I think is really where the challenge is, because there's no technical difficulty, it's to listen to the stories from these guys. And all their stories have never been told before, right? They've never been published anywhere. Like you say, they're very private, and they won't always talk about everything they experienced.
Yeah.
But our guys are willing to, because we're going to be very respectful about the way we portray it. Their personal stories. So this is huge for single player, because I will change.
So there won't be a single player story in this game.
For approximately 6 months after we release the multiplayer part. Again, this is the business part, right? We can't commit to doing the whole thing at once, because it's like.
Yeah, now I understand. I can't. I'm so happy for y'all, man. You don't understand, man. Like, it's like we need more support and more shit like this. So it's like this is. Just thank you for your hard work, man. We definitely love it, man, for real.
Fun. Thank you, though.
Oh, hell yeah. I got a question. Now, the next question I got for you, and it goes off of the engines that we're seeing in this industry. Crytek is a beast, you know what I'm saying? Unreal Engine is a beast. They're doing a lot of things. And what I wanted to ask you, I'm not sure if this is dealing with development costs or is it easier? I don't know. But do you guys have your own internal engine, or is there any engine that you guys are looking at that you feel is suitable for the type of game you want to design? Because there's a lot of good stuff out there, especially now. And I'm like, these companies is really battling, to get other developers dollars to use their, engine and stuff like that. So in terms of what you guys is doing, what are your thoughts about game engines? Are you going to use your own or build your internal, or is there some engines that you're looking at right now that's like a perfect fit for what you guys is bringing, and why?
Yeah, I don't think there's a single perfect fit out there. Over the last year, I looked at just about every engine, and we have a very short list. I can't say which engine we're going with, because we haven't signed the license deal yet. And as soon as I say, that kind of gives away any advantage in negotiation we might have.
Yeah,
we'll know really soon. We're going to announce it on our site and all this. The thing about contemporary is, thank God, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's about time, because the last thing I want to worry about is rendering bugs and why I can't have 16-bit alpha, and where are my physics, and trying to invent that stuff internally. It seems like, this is going to be big money savings down the road, because we don't have to pay licensing fees. But for the most part, you never finish that engine. You're still trying to finish that engine while you're trying to go gold. Wow. And all of the features that you meant to have in the game aren't done, and half your content's broken. I would much rather go with, a third-party engine that's proven. AAA games have shipped on it, been really successful. Tool set's mature and has been copied internally at different companies who are writing their own engine, to be like this engine. Going with off-the-shelf tools saves us a huge amount of time. But like I said, there's no perfect fit. So, we have to have programmers that are going to customize things for us, like ballistics, character animation, controls, routines, stuff like that. But and multiplayer, code,
definitely,
right? Server-side stuff. But by and large, why write your own renderer if there's a really great, powerful renderer with tools that half the games industry already knows how to use? It makes hiring people really easy, and it gets you up and running really fast. I mean, why not? So yeah, I mean, we're definitely going third party.
Okay, that's great. That's great to know. Now.